This is CBT News special coverage of the 2023 NADA show.
Folks, thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Sure, thanks for having us.
Sure. So let me start with you, Ted, if I can. Talk to us about the importance of people-powered messaging. I hear that term come up a lot, and it's the future, right?
It's absolutely the way that everything seems to be matriculating, specifically in the automotive industry, relative to the fact that the complexity of the buying process is what it is, right?
Sure.
So people are buying expensive products. They want to have this engagement with someone who can be on their side like an advocate for them.
Right.
And it's important that the communication is very fluid and that they feel like they're being helped by a live person, someone who's an individual who both has the information to give them, but who can have some compassion for the process that the customer is going through.
Right.
And just be there as a source of involvement, where they're really connecting with another live person. So
Sure.
I think this people-powered idea of having that collaboration with the customer to be able to get them to their end goal, which is researching a vehicle and then identifying which one they want to buy and getting them through that process, which it really is that kind of a thing. It's a collaboration. It's not just give me the data and here, let's move on.
Right.
And so it has to be that way because they need that feeling of entanglement, with another live person to feel like they're getting the help that they want.
Right.
It's the connection, right?
It's the connection.
The connection with the person and having that conversation.
Does that make a big impact with AutoNation customers?
Well, it's establishing a relationship, right?
Sure.
Like that's what it's all about, is establishing the relationship.
Right.
Whether it be via a chat, or whether it be even with any of the other marketing efforts that we do, it's all about a connection and that conversation.
Sure. And is that important to customers today at AutoNation?
Yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, people-based marketing is like our thing. It's something that we've been wanting to strive for many years. So that's super important to us. So having that connection with someone via chat is just, it's really important, and it works really well for us. So
Sure. Do you know? I don't know if you know the number, but I would imagine a very large percentage of deals at AutoNation start through chat.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think, I know that there's data out there that even says that.
Sure.
Even the social platforms talk about it all the time, that that engagement is pretty high.
Yeah.
So I believe that for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot actually, where your customers are engaging, and they're engaging sometimes very early in the process superficially.
Right.
And the chat's helping to answer questions, build a relationship. That's what you need a person for, to build a relationship with the customer so that they can matriculate forward and through. Sometimes they're not, it's so early in the process that they'll remember the relationship and the interaction they had. They want to come back to that source.
That's right.
But they may not make it all the way through the process at that particular moment in time. But that's what, it's the relationship that keeps them coming back. And you don't want to just sell the customer now. You want to sell the customer forever, right? You want a lifetime customer.
For sure.
And so to be able to get to that, you got to answer their questions, meet up with them when they want to meet up with you, and then be that resource. You don't want to just be a billboard of information.
That's right.
And the connection being that having that other person on the other end of the line that's actually having a full conversation with you with no question, it's a person, is meaningful, right? Because the last thing you want is like an automated answer, and then you feel like there's no connection, and then the conversation goes nowhere.
Nothing more frustrating.
You don't want that to be like your first experience with your customer, is to have that kind of interaction initially.
Sure.
And then
you're so many dealers
they may not want to
that.
come back.
I was buying a car for my daughter who's home from college, and we started the process, and that's exactly what happened with this particular dealership. Is that you go through, kind of the bots out there, and you think, okay, well, maybe I'm onto something here. Maybe they give me the information they want, and then it comes time to get the real good stuff, and it says, check back with us tomorrow, we're closed at this time.
Exactly.
You're like, you've
customer
got to be
service,
kidding me. Yeah.
Customer service,
That's
and then
right.
like no one ever comes back on the line. Yeah,
That's right.
It's a terrible experience.
Yeah, there's no question. And AutoNation has gone through tremendous strides to really perfect that consumer journey, right, for their customers. Talk to us about the importance of that.
It's a never-ending process.
Yeah.
You always have to refine that.
Right.
Because the consumer's changed the last few years.
Yeah.
Since COVID.
Yeah.
So
right.
that process is always under, like, we're always looking at that process because you have to be in the mindset of the consumer as things change through time.
Sure.
So we're refining it all of the time.
Sure.
It's not something that's perfected and then you're like, I'm good. We know the customer journey. That's not,
Sure.
You're always refining that.
Talk to us about the flexibility and adaptability that ActivEngage brings to the dealership.
I think, and we've worked together for a while, and I just think that the initial engagement is super important. And I know that our stores know that engagement is important. Mm-hmm. You have to have that one-to-one, like, it's a person.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think, I don't know about flexibility, I just think that it's a no-brainer. It's something that you really should consider, and for us it's worked really well with our stores, and we feel very strongly about it because it's worked so well for us that there's no reason to change what we know is important, and that's all about the connection with the consumer.
That's right. So Ted, talk to us. What makes ActivEngage a leader in messaging technology innovation today? Because you guys are far out ahead of so many others.
Yeah, I mean, our entire focus is just on this messaging, the idea of messaging through all the different vehicles and mediums that you'll be able to have this communication through, right? And so we're constantly looking at the conversations. It's the technology that we've built helps us identify within the conversations consistencies in the ways that customers are asking questions, what they're asking about, what's pertinent this week, or what cars are of high topic in a month or in a quarter. And we want to make sure that we're identifying the answers, what answers are moving the customer forward through the process, where we're getting disengagement. So a lot of that is a lot of the technology that is reviewing the actual conversations itself, and then the people that are going in and taking those statistics and taking those analytics and then refining, just like she's talking about. You're constantly refining these conversations, and we're constantly training our reps. This is working better than this is working, or you want to not use these words, or you do want to make sure that you point out this aspect of a dealership's background, or of a vehicle in particular, or of a buying process, or something like that.
Sure.
And so the ability to be able to recognize those things and quickly both identify them and then be able to train it to your people so that they can actually give it out to the customer is a very big deal. Plus, we're also always looking at different ways of presenting additional information and additional utility of like video and other things that will keep the customer engaged but not obscure either the process that they're trying to get through or the conversation that they're in the middle of, right? Okay. So if they're in a conversation, you want them to stay in the conversation.
No distraction, right? Minimal distraction.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
And you don't want them going off, but we have the My Drive piece now, so we can send them on like an active test drive, and they get to see all the benefits of the car, and they get to see it from all the way around, inside out, things that are great about the vehicle,
awesome.
But they still are fully in the conversation, and they're watching the conversation, and we're interacting with them at the same time, and it's not covering up the website, it's not distracting them from the conversation, but they get that.
What if you get a customer that you sense is upset?
Then we have to get them unupset, basically.
Really quickly.
But I'm saying that you've got that capability, right?
Yeah, no, we definitely, because we've been through this so many times that we know how to ask questions and try to fight through to identify the things that are causing the problem. I mean, customers have problems with possibly things at the store, possibly individuals that they've dealt with. They have problems with the vehicles or inventory, and you have to know how to not just the data to respond with, but it's a complex thing to feel like, hey, I'm human. I get why you
have you
feel
found that to be the case?
We have a good partnership in that when those things arise, we have a team internally, our customer relations team that can sort of take over from there once that comes in.
Okay.
And we built that process even through our social media channels as well. So like we have the ability to be able to, just kind of not cut them off at the pass, but you know what I mean. It's just really get in front of that as soon as we can.
Right.
So we have that relationship built today where we know when it needs to pass off to a relations team, a customer relationship to handle that escalation for whatever is needed.
Sure.
Melissa's team is actually really on top of that, and that's actually been really great for us as well, because a lot of times we're identifying this stuff through these conversations because we're trying to get depth in the conversation to make a stronger relationship. And as we're uncovering that stuff, we can get it to the dealer, but they got to do something with it.
They got to execute.
They got to execute,
Right.
right? And so she does have a team that is able to quickly
Right.
get that information. And I think we communicate that additionally, like we're going, oh, this is a problem,
Right.
and it's not just sending a lead. It's
Right.
we're calling the team or we're letting them know very directly. You need
That's
to
right.
do something.
That's right.
Well, even as the social channels like started to evolve, like when Facebook started to evolve, and
Right,
then we
right.
started to build that connection there, like became more and more important to have somebody answering and having those messages back and forth with people. So we established that a while back, and it works well because then we have the team that supports that kind of a problem if it needs to be escalated, and we can just.
It seems as though every customer, or I should say every consumer out there today, starts out online. It used to be, well, it's a 70%. It's everybody. I mean, let's face it. We all start out online at some level. But now they consumers want to stay on the process more online as far as they can go in a lot of cases, right? Almost in some cases, have the car delivered right to my front door. We'll do everything online. That seems to be the way the industry is headed. If we were having this conversation 10 years from now, what percentage of the consumers out there do you think would be able to take their vehicle all the way online?
I don't know if I could take that guess right now.
I don't know. In my opinion, in the next 10 years, I think that it's certainly going to be that are going to complete the transaction online. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
In 10 years, it's probably going to be close to half, maybe a little bit more than half.
Okay.
I think it's going to migrate significantly as long as they still feel like they're getting that attention.
Sure.
If you're asking me, do I think that you'll be able to go online and buy it like you buy a Tesla?
Yeah.
That's going to require OEMs to really limit the scope of what's going to be on each model, and a lot of other things are going to have to happen to make that happen. I don't see that happening in 10 years.
Okay.
And I think that the consumers, as long as they're feeling like they're getting the attention, then I think that they'll matriculate to doing it more online. But just like, listen, I'm a consumer and I go to stores and buy cars, and if I walk into a store and nobody comes up to me, I'm not happy.
Right.
I don't want to be hounded, but I want you to recognize me, and I want you to be there when I have questions, and I want you to answer my questions without pushing me into a car.
Sure.
Well, as long as you're able to do that online, which is that's how we're set up with them to interact. As long as you're able to do that, then I think that it can actually move much more quickly where consumers will adopt it in a more powerful way. But there's a lot of obstacles to that.
What do you say to the dealers that are watching right now, maybe some of the few thousand dealers that are out there watching us right now, that, when you reach out to their dealerships on chat, they come back and say, yes, we do have that car. When can we set an appointment to come in? Right? And you're going, did they really?
Do they do that? Do you do that?
Yes, they
Let's
do that.
Talk about that.
So, and then they'll follow up by when you say, did you really just do that to us to say, when can we set an appointment? When can you come in? I'll be here. And sometimes it becomes personal with the salesperson. I'll be here till 7. Can you make it in before 7? Yes, I want to buy a car and hit your sales goal before 7. It's crazy. But when you talk to some of the dealers, they'll say, you know what, we just came off of our best year, and whatever we're doing, I guess it can't be that bad because we're selling a bunch of cars. What do you say to those people?
Well, I mean, this year is going to look different than next year. And
Exactly.
And every year going forward, it's going to look quite different. And I mean, listen, you have people in your backyard. You don't want to disenfranchise these people. There's an ebb and flow, and, cars, you're not going to be selling cars over sticker at the numbers that you have been. You're going to have to pay attention to your customers.
That's right.
And I'm not saying that every dealer hasn't done that, but if you're the dealer you're describing, where you're saying, I don't care, well, I mean, the world's going to go kind of back to where it was, before, and you have to be able to sell, and you have to be able to service your customers, and you have to be able to pay attention to your customers, and they're going to go where they feel like they're important.
That's right.
And so you
and
have
also
to give
come
them
back.
that
I mean, we're all in the auto industry. Everybody wants that repeat business. They certainly want them to come back in the service drive.
Right.
And if that experience on the sales side isn't great, isn't world class, they're not even going to darken your service drive, right?
You see the guys that are walking around with the T-shirt that says "Love people, not cars."
Yes.
I mean, that's what we're talking about, right?
That's right.
It's making sure that the customer experience is there so that people do come back.
That's exactly right. And that's really what it boils down to. We're in a people business. All this technology is great. Your technology is world class, but we're still in the people business. And I think that's what's great about your technology is it connects with that person early on, right?
Yeah, listen, I've said it before. I feel like people really, everybody wants to feel like a VIP, right? Always.
Yeah.
And you want to feel like, that I have something special, I have a relationship with someone, I'm going to get treated better because I do have this relationship. Everybody wants to get to whatever's behind the red rope.
Yeah.
And so if you're treating your customers in a way that's like, hey, you're special, I'm paying attention to you, did I get you all the answers? Did I get you the water?
That's right.
You know, are you good for everything?
Sure.
Then they're just going to buy from you, and they're not going to fight about the price because you're not selling them on price. You're selling them on service.
That's the key. That's the key.
And so give them that VIP experience, which is what we're trying to help your dealership do.
That's right. That's right.
And you know, you'll be able to have great success doing that because they'll want to buy the car. You don't have to make them buy the car.
That's right. That's right. Which is the reason that you guys are number one, right? Because of techniques and technology like this, right? That you utilize.
It's really important. It really is. I mean, you think about like the relationships that people, like how people get treated when you go to Chick-fil-A. Is it always the same?
Everybody uses the Chick-fil-A, right?
Yep.
We all
well,
have
not just Chick-fil-A. Well, Disney World too.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
If you wear a happy birthday badge, they're all going to say happy birthday to you everywhere they go. It's like ingrained in them how they treat you there, and that's important.
That's no question about it. Melissa and Ted, thank you so much for joining us on the stage. We very much appreciate it. I'd love to have you back to do a follow-up to see how things are rolling out, and congratulations on a great show. And it's going to be a great year.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching our special coverage of the 2023 NADA show. Join the #1 most watched newscast in the automotive industry. CBT News, 10 years strong. Subscribe today.